That's what they thought. Those fancy folks from the Cedar Creek Preserve HOA. They thought they could just roll right over an old rancher, build their shiny little bridge on my private land, and then sue me for $1 million when their shoddy construction finally collapsed. Big mistake. Huge. The kind of mistake that ends careers, folds law firms, and gets you a permanent nickname at the local diner. My name is Caleb Vance. I'm a private man. For 20 years, I've owned 50 acres on the eastern slopes of the Black Mesa Range, just outside Ponderosa County, Montana. I live under the sky, not under some developer's thumb. I've got a couple of quarter horses, a sprawling pasture, and the Bitterroot Creek running right through the heart of the property. That creek is sacred to me. I check the banks monthly, take my water samples, and for 2 decades, the only thing crossing it was a simple, hand-built cedar footbridge I made myself, just wide enough for a horse and me. Peace, privacy, untouched. That was the deal when I bought it. Then, they showed up, the Cedar Creek Preserve. Identical stucco monstrosities, a gated entrance with a fountain, and an HOA that moved in with the arrogance of a small government. They settled just over the ridge, behind my northern fence line. I paid them no mind, at first. Live and let live, right? Until Beatrice B. Sterling arrived. You'd know her immediately. Always dressed in white linen, even for a dirt road, hair a perfect, immovable blonde bob, and a voice that could slice through sheet metal. President of the HOA, naturally. The kind of person who uses the word community a lot, while clearly only caring about property values. She first introduced herself at a town hall meeting, brought me a mason jar of homemade huckleberry jam that tasted suspiciously like the stuff from the supermarket down in Silverton. Still, I played nice. Tried to be a good neighbor. For about 18 months, things were civil. HOA civil, anyway. Then came the meeting on my porch. B, flanked by 2 board members who looked like silent bodyguards, pitching me the grand idea, a new, permanent bridge across my section of the Bitterroot. It would, she claimed, optimize logistical flow, provide critical emergency access, and, oh yes, significantly enhance community connectivity. What it would actually do was shave 15 minutes off their commute to the main highway and, you guessed it, jack up their already inflated home prices. I asked all the questions. Who builds? Who pays? Who maintains? She had the answers polished like granite. The HOA funds it, hires the contractor, retains all upkeep responsibility. Minimalist design, eco-friendly, won't touch the banks. They even threw in a sweetener. I could use it too. Said it would give me quicker access to my north pasture, which, I'll admit, was a pain to get to in the winter. I didn't trust her a lick, but the concept wasn't terrible. I took the stack of agreements straight to my lawyer, Arthur Denton. Arthur and I had history. We'd been hunting partners since college. He was the best man at my wedding. I trusted him with my life. I didn't read the fine print. That's what I paid Arthur for, right? He looked it over, gave me a firm nod, said it was clean as a whistle. Caleb, just standard easement stuff. So I signed. Big mistake number 1. The construction was loud and annoying for 3 months, but they were efficient. They poured a single-lane concrete and steel structure, slapped up guardrails, and posted a weight limit sign, bright yellow, 20 tons. Looked sturdy, felt solid. A week after the ribbon-cutting ceremony, balloons, local news crews, B in a crisp white pantsuit talking about bridging epics, B showed up again. She wasn't holding jam this time. She handed me a decorative cast-iron elk statue, maybe 3 feet tall, beautifully crafted with glass eyes that seemed to follow the sun. A token of appreciation from the HOA, she chirped, her smile a little too wide, a little too triumphant. We thought it would look lovely right here on your veranda, watching over the bridge. I'm not a paranoid man, but I don't like trophies from people who want something from me. Still, I took the heavy thing, set it near my old rocking chair, and figured that was the end of it. If I had known what that elk truly was, I might have thrown it straight into the Bitterroot Creek. The bridge worked fine for a year. Delivery trucks used it, school buses, the HOA's branded maintenance rigs. It was convenient for me, too. Then, one Tuesday, a sleek, tinted-window black Range Rover pulled up to my gate. Out stepped a guy in a suit so gray it looked imported, shiny shoes, and a clipboard. The kind of clipboard you only see in bad movies about corporate espionage. Mr. Julian Thorne, representing a group of rural development investors. He didn't mince words. Mr. Vance, We're prepared to pay triple the current market value for this property, cash, zero contingencies. I laughed. Triple? Why? This ain't beachfront property, Thorne. He gave me a rehearsed smile. Your land is positioned as a key strategic thoroughfare, Mr. Vance. It connects Cedar Creek to future development zones. The bridge is great, but we need control of the land beneath it. His tone made my stomach clench. It wasn't a request. It was a statement of inevitability. Not for sale, I told him simply. Thorne paused, adjusting his tie. Just think it over, sir. It's always cleaner to exit before your property becomes entangled in complicated legal disputes. We've seen it happen. That last part hung in the air like a threat. I watched him drive off, kicking up dust on my private road, and the feeling that something was deeply, fundamentally wrong solidified in my gut. That night, I pulled out the iron elk on my porch. Just a flicker in its glass, I caught the moonlight. I leaned in. There was a faint seam, hidden beneath the antlers. I called my old Air Force buddy, Sal, who now runs a security consultancy. 2 hours later, we had the elk's insides spilled out onto my kitchen table. Inside the heavy metal shell was a custom, high-end GPS tracker and a microphone, wired up and transmitting. Sal let out a low whistle. Caleb, this isn't Amazon grade. This is professional surveillance. Someone's been listening to your coffee chats for a long time. It all clicked. Thorne showing up right after I'd spoken to a neighbor about possibly fencing off the bridge access. BEA's sudden interest in my property. The whole setup. I was an obstacle, and they were preparing to remove me. I called Arthur, told him about the elk, about Thorne, about the contract. He sounded dismissive again. Caleb, you're being dramatic. It's HOA politics. They can't force you to sell. I hung up, staring at the bridge in the distance, knowing one thing. I wasn't in this with Arthur. I was in this alone. The collapse happened 2 weeks later. A cold, wet October morning. I was out checking the fence line after an overnight storm when I heard it. A prolonged, hideous metallic shriek, followed by a crack that sounded like a tree splitting down the middle. I ran. From the ridge, I saw the horror show. 2 HOA-branded flatbed trucks, both halfway submerged, listing drunkenly in the Bitterroot Creek. The bridge was split, the concrete deck sheared off, the rebar twisted like licorice. Steam and smoke were rising. Emergency crews were already scrambling down the bank. One driver was being loaded onto a stretcher, cursing weakly. Then B. Sterling arrived. She parked her luxury sedan right in the middle of the access road and marched straight to me, eyes narrowed. This is a catastrophe, Evan. What happened? What happened? I shot back. You tell me. You built the damn thing. She folded her arms, the white linen suddenly looking much colder. On your land, Caleb, which, legally, makes you responsible for the structural foundation. My stomach dropped like a stone. You funded the construction. Your contractors, your permits. She pulled a manila folder, always with the damn folders, from her oversized handbag. The agreement states that as the landowner, you are responsible for ensuring foundational integrity. Clause 32, subsection C. It's right here. I didn't need to read it. Arthur's voice echoed in my memory, clean as a whistle. That clause, buried on page 11, in print a shade lighter than the rest. I was liable for all underlying ground or structural deficiencies not caused by willful misconduct by the homeowners association. Not caused by willful misconduct. Slick. We are looking at over $1 million in damages, B said, her voice dripping with practiced regret. 2 totaled trucks, spinal trauma, the full repair. We'll be filing suit immediately, placing the blame squarely on land instability. The $1 million hammer blow hit my chest. You exceeded the weight limit. I yelled, pointing at the mangled trucks. That bridge was rated for 20 tons. You were over, way over. She shrugged. That will be for the lawyers to determine. And she spun around, starting to direct cleanup like she was organizing a church picnic. I went home, pulled out my contract, and read that damn Clause 32C, for the first time, every single word. I called Arthur. Karen says I'm liable. I told him, my voice dangerously level. Clause 32, subsection C. You didn't think that was worth mentioning. He was too calm. It's boilerplate, Caleb. Standard language. She's just trying to shift blame to the insurance. It puts me on the hook for everything if the foundation fails. She's already declared it failed. She has 2 trucks in the river, 5 witnesses, and a TV crew on the way. What do I have, Arthur? Silence. A long, damning silence. I'll look into it, he finally mumbled. We'll handle this together. I hung up, knowing that for the first time in 20 years, Arthur Denton was no longer my partner. He was part of the problem. The next morning, I made 2 calls. The first confirmed my suspicion. B had already filed an insurance claim citing underlying land instability as the direct cause. The second call was to Vivian Chu. I had heard of Vivian. She was a legend in Missoula, a litigation attorney who had single-handedly shredded a massive timber company's environmental claim. I tracked her down, left a message. I don't take HOA cases, she said that evening, her voice sharp and precise. This one involves a rigged contract, a sabotaged bridge, 2 massively overloaded trucks, a $1 million lawsuit, and a lawyer who might be compromised, I countered. I'm listening, she said finally. Vivian arrived the next day with a briefcase and an expression that said she hadn't lost a legal battle since the early 90s. She tore through the contract in under 5 minutes. Liability sinkhole, she muttered, pointing at 32C. No reasonable attorney lets a client sign this without a geotechnical survey writer. What's his name again? Arthur Denton. I told her about Arthur, about the elk, and about Thorn. She nodded, scribbling notes. We need to move fast. She's building a narrative where you're the negligent landowner. We need to expose the real conspiracy. Vivian filed a formal request for all construction permits, contractor contracts, inspection reports, and HOA communication logs. BEA's response was immediate and theatrical. A full-blown lawsuit filed in the Ponderosa County District Court, seeking $1.2 million, hitting the local news within the hour. The gloves were off. Vivian didn't flinch. She filed a blistering countersuit, civil fraud, misrepresentation, conspiracy to commit insurance fraud, and malicious prosecution. But her real genius was in digging up the evidence, one devastating fact at a time. The first domino was Donnie Vargas, a foreman who worked for the shell contracting company B had hired. Donnie had been fired after questioning the materials. He met with Vivian, scared but ready to talk. He confirmed the steel rebar was undersized, the concrete was watered down on-site to save costs, and he had the photos on his old phone. Pallets of off-brand materials, no manufacturer markings. Next, Vivian subpoenaed the HOA fleet logs. It took legal muscle, but she got them. Both vehicles that fell into the creek were carrying 34 and 37 tons of prefab stone for a landscaping project, nearly double the 20-ton limit. And the final scheduling memo? B. Sterling's signature, her authorization, was right at the bottom. But the coup de grace came from an unlikely source, the HOA's quiet, perpetually nervous accountant, Gary Miles. He reached out to Vivian anonymously, saying the lawsuit and media coverage were killing his conscience. We met Gary in Vivian's office. I kept copies, he whispered, pushing a flash drive across the table. He revealed that B had diverted nearly half of the $500,000 bridge budget into a private entity called Summit Creek Holdings, a company owned by her brother-in-law in Nevada. Impeccable paper trail, payments disguised as consulting fees, approved in HOA board votes that Gary confirmed never actually took place. Vivian didn't need to say a word. She just stared at the documents, her eyes gleaming. Within days, Vivian filed an amended countersuit, adding federal wire fraud charges. The documents told the story. A bridge funded by fraud, built with substandard materials, and collapsed under misuse that the HOA president herself had authorized. The county judge issued a preliminary ruling. BEA's lawsuit against me was dismissed with prejudice, and the judge formally requested a criminal investigation into the HOA's finances and construction practices. The local paper ran the headline, BEA's blunder, how greed sank Cedar Creek's bridge. The fallout was immediate. 2 board members resigned. B was served a subpoena. And then there was Arthur. Vivian had filed a state bar complaint, and the ethics committee had been digging. They found it. Arthur had received significant consulting fees from BEA's HOA fund in the months leading up to the bridge contract. Textbook conflict of interest. He was intentionally silent about the legal risks. His license was suspended, pending disbarment. I watched the news that night, a slow sip of bourbon in my hand. I didn't feel joy. I felt a cold, deep satisfaction. The world could finally see the truth. The civil trial against B and the HOA was pure theater. B walked in wearing stark white, a a perfect mask of martyrdom. Vivian ran the courtroom like a maestro. She brought Donnie Vargas, the foreman, who testified to the watered-down concrete, his photos displayed on the courtroom screen. Then Gary Miles, the accountant, nervous but firm, walking the jury through the fake invoices and the black hole that was Summit Creek Holdings. Then the digital trail, emails between B and the contractors discussing how to optimize costs and adjusting the load rating signage after construction. One email, sent 3 days before the collapse, read, "Trucks will be heavy. Just get the stone delivered first, then fix the 20-ton sign later." Then came the final, brutal blow. Vivian called Arthur Denton to the stand. He looked like a man who'd aged 20 years overnight. "Mr. Denton," Vivian asked, her voice calm, yet devastating, "did you receive payment from the Cedar Creek Preserve HOA while simultaneously advising Mr. Vance on contracts involving them?" He stammered, then finally, weakly, admitted it. "Why, yes." He turned pale, her lawyer burying his face in his notes. Vivian turned to the jury. "Ladies and gentlemen, you have now heard from the builder who cut corners, the accountant who tracked the stolen money, the lawyer who betrayed his client, and the HOA president who orchestrated it all. The only person who did things by the book, the rancher they sued for $1 million, is the only one who had nothing to hide." 3 days later, the verdict came back. Liable. B. Sterling was found liable for fraud, gross negligence, and malicious prosecution. She was ordered to pay restitution to the HOA members and significant damages to me for defamation and emotional distress. Arthur was formally disbarred. His law firm, the one built on trust and 20 years of friendship, collapsed in a week. He tried to file for bankruptcy, but the federal charges for interstate wire fraud meant the hammer was still coming down. Last I heard, the woman who handed me a gift-wrapped, spying elk was negotiating a plea deal. A month after the dust settled, I started rebuilding my old footbridge on the narrower bend of the Bitterroot. Just simple lumber from the mill, a couple of good afternoons with a hammer. No contracts, no lawyers, no government. A couple of my real neighbors, the ones who kept their distance from the HOA drama, came by. One brought a 6-pack, the other a toolbox. We didn't talk about the lawsuit. Didn't need to. I did make one small upgrade, though. Right near the new bridge, I posted a sign "I burned myself," neatly lettered on oak. "Private bridge. Cross at your own risk. Bring pie." Because if I've learned anything from all this, besides never trusting anyone in a white blazer with a clipboard, it's that a contract is like a fence. It only works if you build it yourself, check every post twice, and understand that in this world, nobody is watching your back but you. As for the wreckage, the county is slow to clear it. It sits there, a mangled concrete memorial. Locals have taken to calling it BEA's drop-off. And the iron elk? I welded its creepy head shut, yanked out the microphone, and now it watches over my compost pile. Seems like the perfect place for something so full of crap. But I want to know what you think. In a situation like this, where a trusted lawyer, a friend, betrays you for money, should the focus be on the HOA president who initiated the fraud, or the lawyer who actively enabled it? Who deserves the harshest punishment? And what would you have done with that creepy iron elk? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories from the Black Mesa.